Sup, this is David, and today I want to talk to you how to increase your high ticket coaching sales by 75% with this one sneaky little trick. So it's called Yes Momentum, right? And there's actually a few different terminologies that people use, but in the industry, some people call it trial closes, such as Russell Brunson, right? So a trial close pretty much is a question that points to a yes. Okay, getting them saying yes in their head. So these questions, the person behind the screen that's like watching or reading whatever, they should be nodding their head in like agreement with you. Okay, so some examples are like, does this sound good? Like, are you getting this so far? Like, making sense so far? And I'll tell you an example here of like Russell Brunson's story. So before he learned this technique, right? For his like webinars, like he was averaging around like 9:45 for every person who registered for that webinar, right? So for every person, they were averaging. So for example, if they got like 100 people into the webinar, then they would be averaging, 9:45, right? For that, for that webinar. But before he implemented this, he was actually unsure if it would work. So before he did this to like a brand new webinar, right? He just recorded the trial closes and then asked his brother to just insert them into his already recorded webinar. Okay. And that's the only difference that he did. And here's what happened. It went up to 16.5 for every person who registered for the webinar. So from $9.45 to $16.50, which is a freaking 75% increase. Just by doing that, just with that one change. Kind of crazy, right? So for example, if that webinar made $10,000, then it would go to making $17,500 with that one sneaky little change. And at first, when you start doing this, by the way, it'll feel a little weird and kind of like cheesy at first, but then you get used to it, and it not only does it become natural, but for my case, like it becomes like part of my personality. Like it has become such a big habit now. I just use trial closes like whenever. Like even in like this video, sometimes I might like lead you to saying yes because it has just become such like a big like habit of mine, right? So just like right there, what I did, I added right at the end of my sentence, right? And it kind of like made you like semi-agree, right? Right? So it has like become such a habit that I use it like everywhere now. And some key places that you can put this, right? So you can place it after a testimonial. Like after the testimonial, you can say something like, hey, isn't that awesome? Like, can you imagine yourself what that person just did, or doing what that person just did, having that same results for yourself? Like, are you ready to live the same dream, Or you can also insert it after features and benefits. Like, will this help you get closer to your goal? Like, wouldn't this help you get quicker results, Or like after like some kind of like new thought or like a new concept or like a new insight of sorts. So here's just like a bunch of examples that you can kind of like model after. So like, do you want to learn the secret on how to do it, how I did this? Would you like to learn about this loophole? Like, don't you think that you would get so-and-so results by following the same exact model? And have you ever asked yourself this? Like, am I right? Right? Does this sound good? Like, imagine how better your life would become without sales calls or without so-and-so, right? Are you getting this so far? Making sense? Like, that sounds good, right? So you can also add like, yeah, at the end, or making sense. Yes. Let's take action on this. Yes. It can be used throughout many different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be webinars or VSLs. It can be used in your videos, your YouTube vids. It can be used in emails or like any kind of market, like your ads, like wherever, even in real life. Okay, so I'll give you an example of what happened to me in real life and how I find this very powerful, how it got me to return to this concept and realize how powerful it was. So I was having a conversation with a friend, right? Like a one-on-one conversation. And then, we were talking about, certain stuff. And then, we were like vibing really well. And, we were getting into like deep conversation, right? But at the end, we were discussing something that I didn't really believe in. He said something that, and I disagreed with what he was saying, right? But then I remember I was agreeing with what he was saying. And even though I disagreed, verbally I said, oh yeah, absolutely, that makes perfect sense, right? But then in my head I was like, I don't really agree with this, right? And so after we like split apart, like I was like, I was wondering, it got me thinking about that conversation we just had. I was like, wait a minute, I disagreed with what he was saying. It's like, why did I agree with him? You know what I mean? Like, what got me to agreeing with him? And like, I kind of like tried to replay the conversation we had, and I remember he was using trial closes on me. You know what I mean? He was using trial closes on me. Probably he was doing it unconsciously, but he was using it on me. And then during the beginning of the conversation, I remember like I kept agreeing with him. I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, like for the most of the conversation, I was agreeing with, you know, many things that he was saying. It's just that last part that I didn't really agree with, I started agreeing with him, even though I, you know, necessarily didn't agree. So I was like, oh my God, he just trial closed me. You know what I mean? So like this stuff works, right? This stuff works. You may think that it doesn't work because you're a smart person, but let me tell you, this definitely works. Okay, that's why, you know, that's why we get the numbers that we see. Okay, so yeah, this is a great little tactic that you can use. And Dan Kennedy, by the way, he calls this yes momentum, right? And this was used far before like webinars and VSLs. Like Dan Kennedy was using this. Not just for his emails, but he was also using this for his mails, like physical letters. Like he did trial closes in his letters, okay? Because all like this stuff is based on human psychology, like first principles, like persuasion psychology. And once we understand, you know, like persuasion psychology, we can plug this into like many things. Like we can pretty much plug this into like any other vehicle, as long as we understand, you know, like the foundations from first principles. Okay, so yeah, you get them into the habit of agreeing with you, right? And asking questions also, it involves the reader, so it makes it like more engaging to the reader or like to the viewer. Okay, here's the thing though, in like your presentation or like webinar, if you're doing it, it takes a lot more trial closes than you may think. So it's not just like you can insert like 5 of these and, you know, call it a day. Some people like, you know, like the experts and like the Russell Brunsons of the world, they do this hundreds of times throughout their presentation. Okay, I mean, I don't necessarily think you have to do it 500 times, but you know, just you know, a couple dozen or so throughout your presentation or whatever you're presenting. So here's a little tip. Here's what I do. So I write the script first. Like I do if I'm doing a webinar, I write the script, or if I'm doing an email, I just write it out. And then I go back and then I put in some like trial closes afterwards. Okay, so that's like a little trick that I like to use. Okay, and just sprinkle it out throughout your, you know, like VSL, webinar, email, and whatever. And I believe it can absolutely help with your sales and your marketing. So if you want to learn more about like some marketing hacks you can use for your high ticket coaching, you can watch this video now. I believe it's super sick, and I believe it will help you out in your high ticket coaching business. Talk to you soon.